Odo does Cardassian neck tricks, Chisaro dies in a pond, and Rom is a hero? Hello, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc, Lofton.
All right. That was a good one.
Thank you. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are reviewing Season 2, Episode 8 of Deep Space Nine, called Necessary Evil, directed by James L. Conway. Do you remember James?
No, I don't remember. Yeah, actually I do. He was a slim guy. Yes, I kind of do remember him. Not like we made a really close personal connection, but I can say that I did like his directing style in this particular episode.
I noticed that too, yeah.
And I actually wrote that down in my notes because, Aaron used to like to point out
yes, he did.
The shots and the frames and the different directing styles. So I thought that this particular episode stood out to me as far as the directing was concerned, especially the way they did the seams between the past and the present.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Hey, before we talk about that, you mentioned there are a few things we want to say. Number one is we want to say a special thanks to our associate producers, Imo Radka, Rex Wood, Dennis Koch, and Homer Frizzell, Commander Homer. Also, you just mentioned your notes, Cirroc, and people have been commenting about your notes and about your doodles, your Ferengi doodles. And just now off the air, Cirroc was saying basically that the more boring an episode is, the more doodles you'll see. So if his notes has a lot of drawings on it, it was a boring episode. And you said that this one had very few doodles. So that's
very few doodles. I don't have many doodles. I've got the DS9 doodle up there somewhere, I think. You can see it. And then I drew her earrings because I kind of like the earrings that she was wearing in the opening scene.
Awesome.
They were really cool, like looped earrings with these spheres at different points on them.
Mm-hmm. Also, by the way, we got a good close up of those. Those look really cool. The little hoop, kind of the little line earrings.
Yeah, so that's about it for this one.
Also, everybody, Cirroc was just telling me, he was educating me about another piece of advice that Avery gave him, which is Cirroc is braving a powerful cold right now for us, but he's got a product that has about 40 letters in it. What's it called?
Well, I'll show it to you. This is what it is. It comes in these little tubes, these little vials, and these are
oscillococcinumony or something like that.
Yeah, oscillococcinum, which is that's as close as I could get with it. It's made in France. It's made by this company Boiron, Boiron, and they make a lot of
Boiron. Boiron.
Yeah.
Boiron.
Okay, well, there he is. That's what it is. And I say Boiron, so that's how far apart we are on that.
Boy, Ron, you better quiet down.
Boy, Ron, you better heal me from this flu-like symptom. So, yeah, I used to see Avery take these back in the day, and I adopted the same kind of technique for fighting cold and flu-like symptoms. It's a natural homeopathic way, and these little tiny miniature balls kind of dissolve underneath your tongue, and I guess you get your immunity boosted. So that's one of the tools that I use to fight my cold.
I don't know why, but you know, I'm always thinking about like what Aaron would say if he were here. And when you said tiny miniature balls, I felt like I just heard Aaron whisper a joke.
I could hear it. I could hear it as I was saying it, and I was hoping he wouldn't comment on it.
Or at least
he wouldn't highlight it, but
or at least that we would look at each other. Yeah, he would give us a look.
Aaron would definitely say, "So, how are those miniature balls in your mouth? Do they? how well do they work?" You know, he would definitely highlight something like that.
Or else he would just give us a look, and we would be like, "What? I didn't say anything.
I didn't mean it like that." But yeah, so but that's what it is. That's what I'm using to get myself back into health. I've been out of commission the last few days.
And thanks for braving it for us. I know it sucks.
Yeah, I can't get you sick over the internet, so I figured I could participate, even though my voice would be different. Yeah.
Also, lastly,
So,
before we get into the director talk, Cirroc is wearing a really cool shirt, and I want to talk about it for a second. Can you show us the
okay.
shirt, Cirroc?
Yeah, I have. This is one of the shirts that my sister designed,
Hmm.
and there's a good look at it. It's kind of the Africa
Hmm.
Wakanda Star Trek version, right?
Yeah, for those of you that are just listening and can't see it, it's kind of like the outline of a Star Trek insignia, but with like a yellow and black African design and a little bit of like a salmon color below that. It's really cool. And your sister designs these things, and she's also designing something else, these really artistic crosses, right?
Yeah. So she just got back from Ethiopia, and she's a graphic artist. Has been designing websites for people and things of that nature. But now she's working on this project to develop crosses, Ethiopian crosses that have been, in our tradition culturally for thousands of years. And we've had these various elaborate, ornate crosses that are, part of our tradition. So she's trying to bring that into the clothing and also bring some African elements into other things as well. So this insignia was one of the things that I asked her to do, and she's working on a few other cool little projects like this. In the meantime, so we'll be looking forward to a whole bunch of cool designs from her.
Hmm. So everybody, please, we'll put the link down below to the GoFundMe she has for these really cool crosses. We also posted up on social media. There's like, she's got an example of like a dozen different designs. It's really cool. Especially if you're kind of like a history and culture buff like myself and like Cirroc, you'll really appreciate seeing kind of like the rich history of, different cultures within the designs. Which is always cool, whether you're seeing Mayan designs or Ethiopian designs or,
Yeah,
you know, Mongolian designs or just something with rich history is always really cool. So check that out. We'll put the link down below.
absolutely.
What's her
Thank
name
you.
again?
My sister's name is Meron. It's Merone,
Hmm.
and it's named. She's actually named after a mountain in Israel.
Wow.
Yeah, you know.
So much history. I love it. So much good stuff. Every answer from Cirroc always comes from something about like history and culture and more interesting things than the dumb stuff I bring up, I think.
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think so at
Thanks.
all. You actually have a tremendous wealth of knowledge in things that I don't know about. So that's where we meet our minds and
Mhm.
have good conversations. So
Well, thank
I'm
you. Let's
glad.
have some of these good conversations then. So tell us about the director things that you noticed. I noticed some really cool
Yeah.
shots, and I thought of you and I thought of Aaron when I saw there was a shot when who was it? Someone walked out. I don't remember if it was the lady whose name escapes me or if it was Odo. But there was a shot kind of behind a fern for a second, and it looked really
Hmm.
cool. Kind of looked up. But what did you notice?
The kind of few things that I noticed. Number one, I noticed that they played with the lighting from DS9's lighting to the flashback scenes with the Gul Dukat run station, right?
That's right. I noticed that too. I got that in my notes. Not just the lighting, but just more vibrant colors too. Like it was just
Right.
dark and gray and colorless to brighter and more colorful, even, not as bright as most Star Trek, but brighter, than obviously.
Which is funny because they called our show a dark show, and yet
That's right.
you could see that there's a few levels of darkness below our show when they do this episode. They actually show us what a real dark show would look like. And to me, actually, I felt like a Blade Runner type of feel with the neon lights kind of running through with the fence that was separating people. There's like checkpoint.
I
Uh,
I noticed the exact same thing. Absolutely. It was like what they would add things to let us know, hey, this is not the Deep Space Nine that you know and love. Back then it was, attention Bajoran workers, it was like slave work and it was all downtrodden. And yeah, you're right, there's that neon thing over the chain link fence or whatever.
yeah, so those were the kind of things that really stuck out to me that I'm pretty sure the director had a huge hand in. But the transition shots. One of them was when Odo was in Quark's bar, and he was investigating this, attempted murder on Quark. And as he enters into the area where they had this Bajoran list of names hidden, he types in the passcode. And as they cut from him typing in the passcode to being on the other side of the door now, back in time, right, where Odo is now meeting Gul Dukat for the first time and being asked to investigate a murder. So I thought that was really a clever segue. It was a small cut from one side of the door to the other, but it was a good thing because you catch yourself saying, "Oh, wait a second, this is not a continuation shot," right?
Yeah. But you adjust really quickly, and that's what's
you adjust really quickly. Yeah,
and that's why he made such a contrast in the visuals. So right away, wait a second, we're in a kind of a different place in a different time.
Right. Odo's wearing a completely different outfit. He doesn't have his, his Starfleet or whatever uniform on, the traditional one he wears throughout the show. He's kind of wearing this more relaxed garb. He looks like more of a civilian in the old flashback scenes. Yep. But he still retains the things that make him Odo, which is that no nonsense. I'm only here for the facts. I'm straight as an arrow. I don't care about your business, your personal business. I'm just here to get, accomplish my mission, accomplish my goal.
Yeah, he's just there to do his Cardassian neck tricks and move on, right?
Right. So, and I thought that was pretty good. I really liked the background that they had on this show. I thought it was really well done as far as tying the past into the present and also revealing a lot of elements about the origins of Nana, right? And how we kind of first see her pop up on the scene. Kira's character, coming on with the long red hair, and we see the beginning of her kind of her defiant self, where she comes, or the rebel inside of her. We get to see the origins of that. So I thought the episode really touched upon a lot of good elements. Really well played out.
And this was another one, and we're just going to keep mentioning Aron because that's probably just what we're going to be doing forever. But this was another one of those episodes where Aron would have loved seeing it, because one of the things he was always talking about was Renee's portrayal of Odo, and how he and Armin came in immediately with the fully established character. And part of what was cool about going into the past was we saw Odo as a slightly different character. He was a little shyer. He was a little more meek. He played it a little softer, like where he didn't fully know who he was and what his purpose was yet, like he was starting in episode 1 of Deep Space Nine. He was kind of like just this guy that's like, I don't really know. People kind of make fun of me. I do this neck trick, and so it was really cool that he played it that way, but subtly, of course, I thought.
There was the first mention of the word constable, which was in this episode, which it kind of sticks with him throughout the show. I liked it. I think Kira is the one that mentions it, calls him constable.
That's a good point. And when Rom first said it starts with a C and ends with an O, I was like, is he going to say Constable Odo?
No, it's funny because with Rom's character, I saw a lot of things. Number one, I saw him kind of stand up for himself and a little bit to Quark. He kind of admitted to him, I break into your place sometimes when you're not around, and I'm capable of picking a lock because I've been picking your locks.
Yeah, and he said it was because Quark wasn't doing a good job of whatever it was. He says he forgets to turn off the
right. It's for the customers, and and he was hiding I was only hiding your money. I was looking for a safe place to put your latinum, so I had to crack your safe and put your money inside of it. So I was doing you a favor, But I thought that was was good because Rom started to stand up for himself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He also mentioned in this episode, Nog made me this little lockpick device, which I thought was cool.
Nice mention there.
A little shout out to Nog, and my son made this for me. And he's really handy with these kinds of things.
Yeah,
I thought that was a good shout out.
We also, speaking of ROM, something I did notice as well was that we're still slowly getting the ROM that we know later on. Remember at first it's like, and then he ends up being like, oh, hello, brother, or whatever like that. And so right now he's in that in-between state where his voice is getting a little lower and slower, but he's not quite there yet. So I've enjoyed watching and listening to, especially the evolution of Rom's voice. And then by the fourth season, he's fully just Rom,
And, to add to that, shout out to Max Credenchik. I think that's how you pronounce his name, right? Credenchik. But shout out to Max because I'm really getting a good taste for the kind of skills that he brought to this series and his character. And one of the things that stood out to me in this episode was how Rom was walking. His actual walk. And he changes. I mean, Max doesn't walk like this in real life. But in this episode, he has this kind of goofy, hunched over, kind of a Hunchback of Notre Dame type of walk.
Like he's kind of slinking. He's
kind of just, and there's like a 1, 2, 3, a 1, 2, 3. It's not just a normal stepping walk, right?
Yeah.
It's brother, I didn't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, Max Grodenchik just walked in. Everybody,
thank you. Yeah, thank you. But no, I liked it, and I thought, wow, this guy's he's acting with his body, he's acting with his voice. He's using his face. He's completely giving you the full immersed experience as far as bringing you the Rom character, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. It was outstanding.
Totally agree. That's something that actors like to do when they get into character. Is sometimes the first thing they'll work on is, what's my walk? Do I have a limp? Do I walk with arrogance? Do I walk, with sadness or like burdensome? And that's a really good point. Like there is definitely a Rom walk, even if people haven't thought of the Rom walk and the way Rom stands. If you told a Star Trek actor and told them, hey, walk like Rom, I bet you 90% of them could do it without even knowing that they knew his walk, just because it's like he created this iconic type of slink, this slouch, this kind of humble and almost a little scared and unsure,
Yeah,
point,
absolutely. And it stood out to me. And in this particular episode, I said, wow, this guy's bringing in a whole nother walk to the situation. I don't know if this is accurate, but I want to say it was Dustin Hoffman in Midnight Cowboy. I want to say that, but it could be totally off. But as far as I can recall, in preparation for the role, Dustin Hoffman put a piece of something to irritate his foot. So when he took a step, he would have a limp foot, which is what he was supposed to have, this kind of club foot. That's and brilliant. So you put a little pin or a little something there that would actually stub your toe or hurt you. When you press down, you're definitely going to alter your walk, right? So I've heard of actors actually going that far as trying to get a different walk for a character.
Me too. One of my friends, actually our buddy Darth, mentioned to me a long time ago that he goes down to his underwear as far as wearing specific underwear to get him in, the character like. So, let your imagination roam. But if you're wearing really tight ones, it's going to give you a different kind of feel than if you're wearing loose or not at all or something like that. And I've adopted that. I mean, every little bit helps.
Yeah. Keep that to yourself. Let's keep that to yourself.
Too late. It's out there. It came out. I'm like, no, come back.
Where's Aaron? Where's Aaron right now? I need him. I need backup.
This is the one time where I'm like, okay, I don't need to know what Aaron was. He would never let me hear the end of it.
He would not let you.
You're like, wow,
let that go.
Wow.
No,
Okay. Wow. Okay, Ryan. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. Okay, Ryan. Thanks a lot. Now we know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there were other things there was so many things in this episode that there's like, I mean, there's a million little paths, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was also funny when Odo kind of reveals to Rom that he was inheriting the bar, right? And
Yes.
he says something like, "Once this place will be yours," and he's like, "But he's not dead yet, right?"
Mm.
And I thought that was cool because he brought up the I don't know, the 159th rule of acquisition. I think I wrote it down.
Let's check our notes. 139.
Yeah, 139.
Wives
serve, brothers inherit.
Exactly.
And I like that.
Hey, let's talk a little bit more about Rom and Odo. We're going to take our break right now. But there was also something about Rom's scream that I wanted to mention, but we'll be right back on the seventh rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the seventh rule with your friend, Cirroc Lofton. And I'm Ryan T. Husk. We are covering Season 2, Episode 8 of Deep Space Nine, called Necessary Evil. We're talking about Rom. Lots of good, juicy chunks to dip into with Rom, or maybe not dip into. That sounds crass.
Well, Odo says he hits Rom with, "You're not as stupid as you look."
Yes. And he says,
"Yes, I am."
Because I am too.
Yeah, I am too.
And we knew that was coming too, but it's still delivered well.
It was a great little exchange between the two of them. Mm-hmm. I thought it's interesting because I don't know if it's just me, but I feel myself not getting enough Captain Sisko or Commander Sisko at this point in these episodes, and it's just like I'm waiting for more Sisko. I'm waiting for more Sisko-centered themes or storylines. That's my only really knock so far, is that we haven't really gotten that deep into Sisko. We find out a whole lot about Kira. We know we're getting to know more about Odo. Mm-hmm. Even in this episode, I thought we saw a lot about Quark. Quark is even more deceptive than we thought he was, right? He's just more conniving than we even think he is. Because here we are thinking, okay, Quark's just hustling everybody as a bar owner and this and that. And of course, he gets information about different people coming and going and different deals that he gets in. But now you see him in this, involved in this other thing with this woman in this romantic way, kind of touching his ears.
He did touch his ear when she said, "Oh, I'll repay you," and he's like, "Oh." I mean, just imagine if a dude starts doing that.
Yeah,
he goes, "Oh, you will."
It's the equivalent, right?
That's what it is.
So I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, "Isn't that a little rude?" just kind of taking care of your personal business, just in public like that. Yeah, just rubbing yourself. So I thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, so I felt like Sisko was in this episode for like one scene, maybe two scenes, and it was like maybe he had the day off.
That's a great thing to talk about. That in the first season, if you'll recall, it was basically Sisko's story, and we would get one other person. It would be like Sisko and Kira, and Sisko and Chief, and then Sisko. And we were talking about how we kind of maybe would want a little bit more to know about the other characters a little bit more. Now we're getting the other side of that, which is Sisko was in it a little bit, but the truth is in the story, he wasn't even necessary to the story at all because it wasn't even about him. Dax had one scene and like 3 lines. Chief took the week off completely. There was no Colomini. He was gone completely. You weren't there. Aaron wasn't there. It was really it was a Odo, Kira, Quark, Rom, and Dukat story. That's what it was.
Yeah, and Dukat, I mean, how amazing is he? He's just he's fantastic. He just crushes it. So I can't imagine why he didn't know that he was so good, because he was really good in this show. His moments are great. When he grabs Kira as she's walking out of the door, I just like that little moment where he grabs her by the arm, like, "You're not going anywhere. You're not in charge here. I make the rules. You don't leave until I dismiss you," type, authority. He's also clever with Odo. He kind of appeals to Odo's good side. Well, Odo, I know you're like this, and he does this kind of real elaborate chess play.
It's manipulating, yeah.
He's so manipulative, and he's very good at it. He's charming when he needs to be. He's tough when he has to be. He's a very good blend of those, the charm and toughness and the wit. I really think he's awesome. Kira, again, her eyes are so full of this energy that she just eats up the screen when I watch her.
Yes.
Her eyes are just like, you're just looking into her eyes and you can see like she wants to, like, she has this built up energy inside her, right? She really like lives this character of this freedom fighter, this rebel, whatever you want to call it, terrorist, however you want to define it. But she totally lives that inside of her. I can feel it almost pulsating out of her eyes. Right?
Yep, absolutely. I noticed the same thing. Like, I didn't notice it before when I watched it until we started these rewatches. I was like, how did I never notice Nana's giant, expressive, soulful eyes? Like it's all right there. And there's just so much energy. There's so much emotion. There's so much soul being conveyed there.
So
You're right.
So much. And I wrote it down. Kira's eyes are full of life and energy. And then, you know, there was another moment that I wrote down here in my notes, and that was Odo, while he was investigating this murder and he goes to see this woman whose husband was killed, he starts his exit, and just before he hits the door, he turns around and says, "Oh, there was one other thing." And it instantly made me think of Columbo, right?
Is that two Columbo mentions in a row right there? We had a Columbo mention last week too about Princess Bride.
Right. And this one is just like, this is Columbo. This is total. There's no way they didn't steal that one section of that scene from Columbo, because
brilliant.
Odo is walking out of the thing and he does a turnaround like, oh yeah, just one more thing, you know,
one minor little thing,
one minor thing that'll solve this whole case, you know, just one last question. And I thought that was like, you know, me being a big Columbo, Peter Falk guy, I liked that reference. I also wrote another thing down here, which is, you know, besides the fact that we acknowledged that James Conway had really good pace and flow. I thought the flow was really good. The lighting was really good. The transition scenes were good. I liked the camera work that was being done in this episode. So he did a great job as far as directing is concerned.
I actually found myself being surprised that the episode ended so quickly. It kind of moved.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, it's over?
It's over? That's exactly the feeling I felt. As a matter of fact, I asked myself, isn't this episode as long as the other episodes? Like, aren't they all, 42 minutes or, whatever the number is, right?
Yeah, 42.
And so I think it's 42 minutes. But yeah, this episode flew by, which means it's good, right? When it's good, it flies by. I also thought that it was interesting that they used the Bajoran Underground as the title of this revolutionary group. And the reason I say that is because, once again, I like to see where they're borrowing things, like we just mentioned with Columbo, and other things that we talked about with, for example, Blade Runner, which I said some of the set looked like Blade Runner. And it could be borrowing it. It could be just a, complete coincidence. You put darkness with a neon light, I think Blade Runner. But the Bajoran Underground definitely is a steal from the headlines of real life. And it's named after a real life freedom fighter / terrorist group called the Weather Underground.
I've never heard of that one.
And the Weather Underground was founded by a guy named Bill Ayers, who was a professor at the University of Illinois. Now, I don't know why I know all this stuff, because I'm into information. But when I heard the Bajoran Underground, of course, I'm going to say it's it's been borrowed from the Weather Underground, right? which is a group that started in the late 60s, early 70s. And they carried out here in the United States a lot of domestic terrorism. They bombed buildings, government buildings, and people died underneath their banister or their cause. But they also are seen by some groups of people as freedom fighters, and people that are fighting imperialism and a government that's out of control. So, however, whatever lens you're looking at it, that's how you see it. But the fact of the matter is, it is a real existing group called the Weather Underground, which they borrowed from, and they created this name, the Bajoran Underground.
That's really cool. When I heard that, I thought the same thing, but I never heard of Weather Underground. I thought of the London Underground, which was, I think, like a band from like the 60s or 70s.
Oh, okay.
It's probably yours and not mine, but we'll see. 50-50, right?
Yeah, 50-50. One's a terrorist group, one's a rock band.
One's a band whose songs I can't name right now.
Yeah. So, so that's one thing I just thought should be kind of, I know the writers like to borrow things from different places.
Absolutely. Like the Maquis.
Like the Maquis. I mean, they use everything. They use mythology. They use religious texts. They use all types of places to steal and borrow from, which is great because that's how they tell these stories about things that we personally know about in other ways, right? So here they are telling the Weather Underground story through the Bajoran lens, which I thought is pretty interesting.
That's right. And to your point, like Ira said, where he got Negus from some Indian scripts or something like that.
Well, yep.
Grunge, when we're talking about...
those are both Ethiopian words, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Faranj is Ethiopian word, and Nagus is an Ethiopian word. Nagus is what we call our leaders, right?
But it's Negus, correct?
Right. Negus.
Right.
And it's pronounced Nagus the way we pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
Those were
Oh no, I was just going to say before I forget as well. I did want to mention Rom's scream. We did notice how Aron and Armin both had the similar scream, which is obviously, that means they did their homework on how Ferengi do it. Rom did the same thing, had that high pitched like,
Yes.
And it was great. I was like, they're nailing it. They're all keeping it consistent, So shout out to Rom for being obnoxious there. Perfect.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that moment where Quark is waking up from his coma. Yes, and he hears the scream, and he's grinning as he hears that scream. Like my being alive is driving my brother miserable. I love it. Mm-hmm. There was another instance that I thought was interesting. How far back Quark flew when he got hit with the phaser fire.
I put that in my notes too. I was like, wow, that was a really good stunt. He flew back like 20 feet.
Did you see? Yeah, yes. You saw that, right? So I was thinking this. You thought the same thing that I did. I was thinking, wow, he really got him with the shotgun.
Usually they just go, and then they drop, but he like,
he got lifted off of his feet, right? And flew backwards. And I was like, wow, that's a heavy duty piece of weaponry that guy's got there, right?
And I'm assuming it was a stunt double, but you couldn't notice it. Like it wasn't it wasn't a noticeable stunt double. I wrote that in too. I was like, that was a really good stunt.
It was, and it was a significant. This is how far back he got hit. But yeah, there was a lot of elements about this episode. Another thing is that it was a standalone episode, essentially, right? It's like you really didn't have to watch any of the episodes before this episode. If you had just been watching this DS9 episode for the first time, you would have totally got everything that was going on. There wouldn't be really left out of too many loops.
That's right. Yeah.
You didn't have to know that Gul Dukat and the Kardashian story and the Bajoran history. You could have watched this with just completely novice, not knowing anything, and just enjoyed it as a standalone episode.
That's true. But if you had never watched any of the previous episodes and somebody watched only this one, they'd be like, wow, that medical officer is really a tough, no nonsense kind of guy. Not a slime ball at all. He's like, what kind of weapon was it? Damn it!
Damn it! I need extra. Give me 2 of these stat.
We're like, well,
what
where'd
kind
this
of
guy
weapon
come
was it?
from?
Yeah, I thought this guy was like, who is this guy? He's like the lead doctor on Grey's Anatomy.
Tough guy.
He is a tough guy over there at Quark's bar. He was putting the moves on. I actually enjoyed that little moment. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there was. You would think that he died from that, and they really made it look like Quark was going to die from it, you know. But we all knew that it wasn't going to be the case. I'm trying to look at what else that I saw here.
Now, yeah, and going along with Odo's change, you know, seeing him be, you know, a little bit meeker and a little bit less sure of himself. Kira had the same change. Less of a change because she already had her purpose. She was a freedom fighter, you know, or a terrorist, however they looked at it. Mm-hmm. But she still did have, you know, she was still scared. I mean, back then, like, she was the same person in that she was still a freedom fighter and she still knew what she believed to be right, but she was fighting as the underdog. She was still scared. Now, now during the seasons, what we're watching on Deep Space Nine, she's no longer scared. She's strong. She's overcome. You know, she's won those battles. So that was an interesting minor change in her demeanor, was showing that tough girl that still has to hide in the shadows, that's still kind of playing the game, that, you know, is fighting the good fight, trying to get where she is now in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, and the other thing that I wrote down, which I thought was interesting as well, is how she, excuse me, how she got away with lying to Odo. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, during the flashback scene, we clearly know that Odo is like a human lie detector, right? He can tell if you've been crying because, you know, your eye,
the puffy eye thing,
your skin isn't raised or whatever. And he was catching people in different lies throughout the episode, right? Mm-hmm. Catching Rom in his lie. You know, he says he doesn't know anything about it, but I don't believe him. You know.
Yeah, and then he finds out
that this whole time, years later, this unsolved case, that Nana, that Kira is the murderer, right?
And she just kind of lied. She's like, "Oh yeah, that. Well, I didn't want you to think any less of me. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Oops.
Sorry, I totally tricked you, and you thought nobody could lie to you. Sorry, I tricked you anyway.
Right. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, wow, she got away with lying to Odo. She's interesting. How did she pull that off?
She's a pro.
Yeah. Or because there was a moment there where Gul Dukat and Odo and Kira are all in that little room, mm-hmm. where Odo basically lets her off the hook, right? And says, no, she's not responsible for the murder. Let her go. He could be, it almost like he had a sense that she was, and he was doing it because it was the right thing to do. I mean, they played it in a way where you could kind of look at it like maybe Odo was doing it and he knew that she was, but then they killed that, of course, when they put the later reveal that he didn't know. So,
you know, I also noticed like a minor thing, and this is me looking a little too deeply, I think, but there was the first time that I saw a tiny bit of that camaraderie between the two of them that does end up turning into a romantic spark later on. Mm-hmm. Not that there's a romantic spark there yet, but there was that mutual respect and love for each other. It's beyond just like, you know, business professionals where, you know.
But this was after she kind of confessed that she was, right? Are you talking about after she was confessed?
Yeah.
Or during the scenes when she
it was kind of both, but it was solidified at the end there because he's just kind of like she says, I didn't want you to think less of me. Like that's a personal reason. That's it's not really a professional reason. You know, and he's kind of letting it slide. That's a personal reason more so than a professional reason too. So there's just a little bit there where at this point, it's surely not romantic, but there's something that does end up turning into that spark between Kira and Odo. I think that was the first time I saw it, was in this episode.
Now, were they hinting that Quark had a relationship with this woman in the past, that they started the opening scene? Because I got the sense that he said, I'll be back in 1 or 2 days to go pick up my, come collect my.
Well, she did say something. Her name was Vatrick Palra or something. Maybe I didn't write that right in my notes, but Vatrick was what she went by, Mrs. Vatrick. And she said something to the effect, I forgot exactly what she said, but she said, then afterwards I'll do that thing that you like so much, basically is what she was saying. So yes, past,
Yeah,
and that's when he was like, "Oh," and
that's when he got reminded, and he's like, "Oh yeah."
He's like, "Oh yeah, she doesn't like this," and she's like, "Dude, I'm right here. Can you wait till I leave?" Jesus Christ. Come on, dude. Good grief.
So they made so then it made me think like, Quark gets laid more than anybody on this show, because
you're right.
Now that I've seen it, with this reference. With a couple of times I've seen him with Dabo girls on each side.
Well, it's definitely not Bashir.
Well, we know it's not Bashir. O'Brien's married.
Yeah, he only puts his jump jaws.
Sisko's widowed. Odo hasn't figured out how to make, how to work it yet.
Dax does just fine for herself.
But she's got 6 lives or 7 lifetimes worth of.
And she's got a lot of principles, though.
But Quark is literally getting the most action, and I'm a little bit upset about that.
Totally.
How's the Ferengi guy on the show getting all the girls? I thought that was.
If you consider getting action, getting your ear touched, then I mean,
well,
maybe maybe everybody gets action.
All it takes is the latinum, baby. It'll change your life.
That's funny.
But I thought that was also funny too. She said, "I would like you to do this break-in for me, and I'll give you 5 bars of latinum." And I'm like, "That's it?" I mean, I didn't think that was much for Quark. I think more so the ear touching was the thing he was doing it for.
Another thing I noticed was, and this was just a little nitpick thing, but when Rom does do the scream, and this was the scene where Odo comes in and says, "You saved your brother's life. You're a hero, Rom." But what I thought was right before that, Rom screams, and like 4 seconds later, Odo's in the infirmary.
Right.
And I'm like, how close is his office, or is he just right outside? Because I counted 4 seconds from the time Rom begins his scream, the time Odo is in and apprehending the bad guy. That's pretty impressive.
And the other thing I didn't really get was the role of this bad guy and why he was being a bad guy. I didn't see the real motive behind it.
Yeah,
the guy who killed Quark, essentially, or tried to kill Quark.
Well, he was in cahoots with
Dukat,
with Valtryek,
who then was in cahoots with Dukat, like revealing the names of them.
I guess because they were collaborators. I guess. I mean, I'll be honest. I paid a little less attention to that because that storyline wasn't very compelling to me as much as I paid attention to the interpersonal relationships that were happening because of it. So I did get a little bit, I don't want to say lost, but I found myself kind of going,
I'll accept that as an answer. Okay. That's fine.
These guys want him dead. I don't care. Oh, look, Kira's got a long ponytail. That's interesting.
That's basically, Because I was trying to play it out of my head, like, okay, so they were getting the list to Dukat, and there were double agents. I was trying to figure out exactly.
They were and that's why, what's his name? Cheese Bro. Sorry, his name was Chisaro. I just call him Cheese Bro because those of you that live in the San Fernando Valley know that there's an exit off the 101 called Cheese Bro.
Yeah, I do know that exit.
I think it's pronounced Chesabro, but Cheese Bro sounds funny. Chisaro, he died in a pond that day was because he was a collaborator and they didn't want to get found out or whatever it was. But that was the answer there.
It's so funny because I know I brought this up in an earlier podcast, but I said that they could easily do a crime scene investigator Star Trek edition, right? Like a CSI, but Star Trek.
Yeah,
and to me, that's what this episode exactly was.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is they do have that on occasional episodes, for example, but not as a series. For example, there'll be a time when Odo does this. There'll be a few episodes like this where it's like, Odo is Columbo. Voyager's done it a few times with Tuvok. Our boy Tim Russ does that. In Next Generation,
where he's like the solver,
the Columbo. Yeah,
the Columbo. Okay.
And Data, Brent Spiner on Next Generation does that. Before that, it was Spock. I don't really remember that happening too often on Enterprise, or which character that would be. I guess it might be to Paul, but she got so compromised with her emotions that you kind of need somebody else to do it for her. But anyway, that's kind of they'll have like 3 or 4 of those episodes per show, where like the Odo or the Tuvok or the Data, they're the Columbo, they're Murder, She Wrote, they're Angela Lansbury, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Angela Lansbury, Columbo, the whole thing. They and that's why I said they could easily have a Star Trek series that is just a crime solving series where it's like the FBI, the FBI of Star Trek, which I mean, I don't know who would be. I don't think it's Section 31 anymore. I think they're more some other department, but just a crime solving murder mysteries of who done it.
It'd be also cool is if every one of those crime solver characters was in one show trying to outdo themselves. Like Odo's like to Data, he's like, did you know that this guy had a follicle of hair on the floor? And Data goes, well, yes, I did know that. And did you know? And Odo's like, of course I knew that. And then, and then Tuvok just like raises an eyebrow and says, well, while you two were bickering, I went off and solved the crime. Or,
That's exactly.
Never mind.
Have them all together. I think it's funny. Yeah. The other thing that really jumped out to me is we are watching a Odo heavy episode. Renee just passed away, and just every time I see him now, it just has that much more impact on screen, right? And there was one of the things that he stood out to me was he said the captain wanted me to keep daily records, and so they kind of did Odo's version of Stardate. This.
Yes. What did he say? What was his exact quote at the end there? He's like, "Oh, they got me doing this," and so then he says, "So here's my first attempt at the security log. Everything's under control. End log.
End log. Right.
Like perfect. Everything's under control. End log. Okay, moving on.
Moving on." And that was his moment of doing a captain's log, right? Yeah, I thought that was great too, and I just wanted to highlight that because it meant a lot to me seeing it on the heels of Renee's passing. Kind of just was that extra special touch.
We got about 30 seconds left, but that's a great final thought on Renee being a superstar and being an amazing human and really showing off his acting chops every week, especially on a week like this, where we get to see him playing kind of 2 different versions of the same character. And also a shout out to Aaron, who was the first to point that out, what an amazing actor Odo was from episode 1. And every time we see Odo doing something great, now we're going to think about Renee and we're going to think about Aaron.
Absolutely. Yeah, everything's under control and log.
Can't beat it. That's perfect, man.
Yeah, that was great.
All right. So
well, I think we covered this episode pretty much everything that was in it. So
yeah, except for when we were like, oh yeah, so what was the point of the episode? And we're like, I don't know.
I can tell you what happened.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought about it. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and also another shout out because Peter Allen Fields once again was involved with this episode. I mean, just the names now are just starting to pile up, right? The legends that have been a part of it. I gave a shout out to Max Kredenchik. I wanted to make sure he got his props, and like I think we covered a lot of it. Mark Alimo, everybody really
amazing,
hit it out of the park.
And great job also for Meanie for staying out of the way for a week, right?
Yeah, it was a great episode. So thanks to him not being a part of it, me not being a part of it, I'm giving it a 4 stars. It gets 4 stars from me.
Nah, we love Colm, we love Cirroc, we love Aron. We sorely missed them in this episode, but it was well written, well directed, well acted.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you all for joining us. Stay tuned for the free-for-all. There's going to be some bedlam probably. And always remember the 7th rule. Hey everybody, and welcome to the 7th rule free-for-all. We've got Imo Radka here, as well as Homer Frizzell, 2 of our associate producers. We've got Kat R. King, Cirroc Lofton. My name is Ryan T. Husk. Heather Jordan should be joining us shortly, whenever she feels like it. And we were just talking about Imo's goodies right behind us. Imo, show them your what we left behind thing.
I'll move out of the picture, yeah.
But you have the other one there, the Sisko What We Left Behind. I haven't seen that poster.
It's really cool, yeah. It's a little dark in the room. I'm in the basement right now. So the poster has all the name of all the, how do you call them? There's not patrons, but supporters.
Yeah, donors and supporters.
Yeah, donors and supporters, yeah. It's really cool.
And the poster, and what's the thing directly behind you?
That's the certificate for the, or of the HD sponsorship.
Wow.
So
yeah. That is quite a nice setup back there. I like that.
It is, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, you're putting my green screen to shame.
In America, that's called a man.
And my white screen with my fan.
Maybe I'll just take a picture of it. Oh, take a picture of it and send it to me, and I'll use that.
All right, I will. I need better lighting yet, though. Yeah.
Hey, Imo, do you have a term for man cave or nerd cave?
Well, that's what this room is. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably called man cave.
He just realized it as
yeah, I'm looking around. I won't show you the other side. We just moved in here like half a year ago.
You're actually right. This is I built a man cave for myself.
Yeah, I actually built the house around this room. And I'm not kidding there. Actually,
wow,
I believe it.
So where are the names written on that poster with Sisko on it? Where are they written?
What do you mean where?
Well, like point to where the names are written on it. Are there names?
Zoom way in.
Okay.
Let's see. We can move
really
it.
Dark.
It's too dark. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Let's see if my flashlight from the phone can do anything about it.
Yeah, I think it's made of the names.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's made of the names.
Yeah.
It's made of the names. Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, wow.
That's brilliant.
So Kai or whoever did it did a really good job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of.
Have you seen that before, Homer? I haven't seen that before.
I have seen it. I clearly don't have it here. But
well, you've got that shirt. Don't worry.
I've got the shirt. I've got
on the 7th rule.
The golden Ryan.
Really
golden
cool.
Ryan. Man.
The golden blue Warriors Ryan.
Oh, that's a
Golden
great
State
shirt.
Warriors Ryan.
That's a great shirt. That's actually my favorite color right there, the yellow.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I like
It's the Laker gold. I mean, no, sorry, Golden State Warrior gold.
Yeah.
Lakers are gold and purple.
Purple.
Oh,
I see purple
right,
there
Kat.
somewhere.
howdy.
I see purple there somewhere. It actually does have a Laker. Oh man,
It does have that vibe, you know.
that goes with my Laker hat. Okay,
I'm sure they are fans of the 7th rule.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Heather Jordan.
I know
That's
actually.
Jordan,
You know
yeah.
what? I used to hang out with Kobe back in the day, and I know he's a fan of DS9.
See?
Is that
So-
true? Really?
Is that
Old
true?
school
Really?
Lakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Get
true.
him on.
Yeah,
Get
get
him
him
on,
on. Yeah.
Hey, Kobe, come over here.
Get the Black Mamba on here, man. Come on.
Get a headset and come over here.
Kobe, and who was the guy you injured on the basketball court again? Was it Brad Pitt? No, who was it?
Oh, that was DiCaprio.
DiCaprio. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's get him on as well.
let's get him on too. Get him to testify.
How you doing, Kat?
Yeah.
Do you have any superstars you want to bring on the show, like Kobe?
Oh, you know it. You know, I've got a long list. A long list. Yeah, it'd be great. We could get some of those Kardashians on the show. That would be epic.
Like old Ducat?
Yeah, that's a good choice.
I'll take Cole.
one of those Kardashians.
You've got a flag on the
Kardashian.
background, Kat. It says New California Republic. Is that what
Oh, that's a Fallout. New Vegas or whatever it was. It's a Fallout. I used to have the Loot Crates subscription.
Oh, that's from Fallout.
Yes, that's
okay.
from Fallout. So I got like two heads.
Two heads. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
And then if you're BioShock, if you like BioShock, those are the posters that go with that game franchise. And then my DS9 stuff is up on the wall too. I don't know if you guys.
Ooh.
Cool.
Whoa! We need some close-ups.
Oh yeah, I didn't have them. They're not signed or anything. Those are the ones I got from you guys when we came down to the Grumman's for the thing. The premiere of the documentary. So we went in early. My friend Alan and I got there super early, and I couldn't believe it. They let us in. They let us in. We just walked right into the theater, and no one stopped us. And we just picked out the perfect seats, and we just hung out there and waited for everyone to show up. And we were really surprised to see who all came. But I don't like asking for autographs, so I didn't bother to.
This was for the doc, you mean?
Yeah, is my photo with you and Aron and at the Chinese theater that day. Yeah, those are the posters I brought back from that.
Oh wow!
So yeah, but they're not signed or anything special or fancy like that. They're just.
That's all right. You've got your own woman cave over there.
I do. It's like the nerdy. Yeah,
I was thinking about that. I was like, is it a woman?
Marvel. We love Deadpool.
Or do we have to just stick and call it a nerd cave, and that's it? It's just
a nerd cave. We don't need a gender on it.
Non-gendered.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. We've got more posters to Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and all of the Stephen King movie posters and everything too still need to go up. But I'm collecting still and trying to work out how it's all going to look on the wall without messing with my OCD.
Does that mean that like Harry Potter stuff can't be too close to the Lord of the Rings stuff?
No, because then people will start making comparisons and
Is that what it is?
comparing that J.K. Rowling stole like 90% of
They have to be sectioned off properly.
The Dementors are wraiths, man. That's all I have to say. That's the one big thing I always thought was like, yeah, Harry Potter was like watered down Lord of the Rings for kids. I loved it.
That's why I didn't watch it. How you doing, Heather?
Whoa.
Fired.
I'm a Lord of the Rings guy. Sorry.
Doing good.
Yeah.
Finally not living on pain meds, so that's a plus.
That's a good thing, right?
What happened? Why were we on pain meds?
Are they the kind of pain meds that make you feel a little loopy or what?
I don't know if I should mention what I was on, but
whoa. Okay.
No, I had surgery last week. That's why I was not able to make it to the free-for-all. I was actually, when you guys were filming, I was coming out of anesthesia at that exact moment. So,
well, congratulations, you made it.
You made it.
Made it through.
And you seem like you're doing okay. All is well. And you had something in your right hand. I didn't see what it was though.
Oh, I had a microphone and a drink.
Oh,
right.
That's when they always go together.
That's why she's off the meds. She's got another.
As one does.
Are you at Vic's bar?
It's just an energy drink.
Oh, yeah. That's good. My
rock found it in her storage unit.
I knew that was going to come up.
Yeah, somebody had to.
That old chestnut.
Yeah.
What's that?
It was a reference to let's move on.
Let's move on.
I know what we can move on to. Immo was showing us the coolest thing, and this is very relevant to the episode we were just covering, which was Necessary Evil, a very Odo-centric episode. Plus, we lost one of the greatest actors in the history of the world, Mr. René Auberjonois, I think.
Sounds good.
I mean, in French, it's Auberjonois. I don't know how he said it or how it's supposed to be said, but show us what you got, Immo. It's pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah,
I auctioned off quite a few items from eBay. He did a charity auction, I think every 6 months for Doctors Without Borders.
Oh,
and
cool.
so I got a few of his original scripts. And when you mentioned that you weren't sure whether the writers put this famous humph or whatever you pronounce it, harumph, in the scripts, I thought, let's check on that. And so I took the very first script of The Emissary, This
Yeah.
was his original.
Wow.
And on page 28, there it is. Let's see if we can get in the camera.
It says
HMCH.
oh yeah.
HMPF. Yeah, that's it. They might have edited that to this harumph, but yeah. He grumps
And
says,
I see, Emo, you have the revised version, so he's got all the updated pages inside of that script, right? I see different colors in there.
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, you tell me what the colors mean. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
It would say
they
on
all
the
mean
front.
revisions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should say on the front how many revisions.
What version was
It
blue?
says revision final draft. Yeah.
No, on the first page there will come a list of all the colors that they have inside of there.
Okay.
And it'll have just like 2 letters abbreviation. So yellow is probably YW and gold is GD.
Credits revised. I can see it. There's a few pronunciations. There's a pronunciation guide in there. I thought that was
Pronunciation
pretty,
guide.
Yeah,
Ooh,
pretty
yeah.
interesting as well. Yeah.
Oh, they could have used that in all these episodes we've been watching. Everybody pronounces everything differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. We use that pronunciation guide.
I have to check on that. I don't know.
That's Renee's script of The Emissary. That's amazing that you have that.
It is, yeah.
And he has notes in there, I think you were saying, right?
That's another script. That's the Healing Touch. I think we'll get to that. And
I would love to see what it says about Bajor versus Bajor.
Yes.
But he made all.
Oh, and the pronunciation guide?
Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily have to happen right now. Just curious.
Well, let's see. I think.
I just tend to go with however Kira says it.
We have a Dabo in there.
Oh, yeah.
But no, not Bajor. Yeah.
Okay.
I have another script, and we made quite a few comments there. And my favorite comment is, "Can you see it? Why is Bashir there?"
Oh my!
Oh, here.
Why is Bashir here? What's the line? What does he say after that? It says,
what does it say under?
And Odo, for that matter.
Oh my!
And Odo for that.
They're just like in the scene for no reason. Okay.
Which episode is that?
The healing touch.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
Do any of you guys have any of his autographs with his doodle drawings? Because I know Renee used to like to draw his Odo character.
I do, but I don't know where.
Yeah, I have one.
Really?
You do have one, Homer.
Yeah, Homer's showing a picture of that on social media.
I do. Yeah, I'm on the social media.
Oh, the social media thing.
Yeah. I got it. Actually, I've got a picture from when that happened. I will put that up now because I'm starting to become somewhat techie.
Imo just showed us something too.
Yeah.
Before Imo?
That's the doodle.
It is.
You're probably talking about that, right? Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so he drew that on the back of the script?
No, he sent it with the script.
It was
a
selfie.
It's a selfie of yeah.
It's a selfie.
He sent it together with the script.
He used to do that a lot. I mean, that was his favorite little thing to do, is draw these little
bucket.
doodles, the bucket, and it's like these. He would do an Odo face too, I think, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Homer, are you in that picture?
I've seen the buckets, but I've never seen
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's Cirroc in there.
So usually when I stand over here, something's about to happen, but not today.
I love Nana's hair. She looks like a total like rogue, and that chick who's on the Channel 4 News. Never mind. That's a California.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't think you did.
Nope.
That's a great picture, Homer. That is
Thank
really
you.
cool.
It
Yeah,
is.
they were great.
Cirroc looks like way younger, but obviously it's not that old because it can't be more than a few years, right?
That's right. You could have 3 years ago. So, yeah.
Yeah, but Cirroc looks like way younger in that photo for some reason.
Okay, stop.
Way younger.
Yeah, I think I was skinnier back
Precisely
then.
3 years younger.
I think that's way skinnier is what you should say.
That was so sweet of them to do that for free for you.
Yeah, that would have been really sweet.
The only person missing is Aron in that photo there.
Now Renee's making a little bit of a funny face in that, right?
Yeah,
I think it's the beginning of a harumph.
It is the beginning. You caught him mid harumph in that photo.
Yeah.
Mid harumph.
Mid harumph.
It's just.
I didn't realize how tall you are, Homer. You're actually just the same. You're the same height as Renee. Almost exactly.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in this picture because I know you're much taller than I am, but it doesn't look that way. I think you're behind me a little bit.
But I am a little bit farther behind. But you're the same. You're about the same height as Renee in this picture.
Yeah, I'm 5'11".
Yeah.
Well, 5'10".
Well, look at Michael Dorn. He's over there grabbing some waist.
Yeah, he is.
Close up on that on Michael Dorn's hand over there, casually wrapped. There it is.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I see the hand.
Look at the look on Terry's face, dude. Like, well, what are you gonna do?
This was before Adam. It's okay.
You know what I can't tell though is if Nana. Sorry, I think Nana has
Nanu.
If she has both hands on Homer's shoulder, or if Terry has a hand too.
It's all Nana.
It's Nana.
Yep.
Those are actually both my hands, so they're very light.
Yeah. He has
very
long reach.
Very long
reach. That year.
Don't tell her.
Good for basketball.
Might come after me.
Nana.
I just love her hair. It's perfect.
It is.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah, everybody looks great in that photo. Everybody looks like like refreshed and
yes, everyone looks so bright and fresh and youthful.
Like I saw Michael Dorn.
Oh, thank you, Kat.
Michael Dorn this year, and he looked just kind of tired.
Okay,
at conventions they always do though.
It's very possible he listens to this podcast. We want to say good things.
Tired in a good way.
He looked tired. I didn't say he looked
Homer.
bad.
So this was at the Jacob Javits Center, which is not
New York City. Yeah,
most comfortable place ever. Unrelenting lights.
Too big.
Cement floors. Super huge. You're getting in 14,000 steps if you go there for something. So I can understand how he might be or appear to be slightly tired.
Yeah.
And it was probably very, very late in the day. He probably didn't have breakfast, so that would factor in as well.
So that's for you, Mr. Dorn, if you're listening. There's a really high likelihood of that.
That's right.
Well, just in case. Yeah, we keep it all kosher.
I can't blame Michael for being irritated at the con this year that I saw him at because it was not set up very well. Like I was actually volunteering there, and it was just
Was that the Rochester one?
Yeah. It was.
Well, that actually brings up a great question. What is the worst con you've ever been to?
Let's close out with that. That's a great question. We're going to start with.
I need to run before that because it's my wife's birthday in about 3 minutes, and I'm kind of scared about losing this man cave if I'm not going upstairs.
All right.
All right. See you soon, guys.
Happy birthday to your wife.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Immo. Associate producer Immo Radke, all the way from some really, really, really long city in Germany that I can't remember. It's like can't even. It's insane, but it's in Germany, in northern.
Something like Dusseldorf.
Yeah. So, let's start with Heather. What's the worst convention you've been to?
I don't want to say too much. No.
This
year, the con this year, was just. It wasn't great. And the reason is because the room where the stars, both where they had the VIP rooms and I guess you could call it the auditorium type thing, was in this basement. And it was unfinished and just chairs sitting out. And it was hot and stuffy and the lighting was terrible. And then in the actual VIP section, because I went there because I was working, behind the scenes, you go down this staircase that literally looks like it's about to fall off the wall. And it looks like you're heading down to a horror movie dungeon. So it's just it's just old, and the building is super old, and it's nothing against the building. It's just super old. And
okay, so we don't want to hurt the building's feelings.
Yeah.
Well,
Michael Dorn's fine, but buildings,
The building was tired, okay?
Yes, it didn't have breakfast.
poor thing. It's listening right now.
Yeah, it was listing.
Don't want to offend any
is
buildings.
listening right now.
Well, it's an old armory here. So I mean, it's like an old military building, and the building itself has a lot of history. It's just this VIP section just was kind of scary going into it. But then, so I felt like it was not the best setup for like, having happy stars. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What about
It's a bunker.
I did see Vic there too, so.
Vic, yeah. Well, the thing is, I really haven't gone to very many other than, Pasadena, Grand Slam back in those days. Those were the first ones I went to. That's where we used to go because we live in LA. So, of course, it's the closest one. And then when they moved everything to Vegas, so my experience been since 12 years old going to, 13, 14, going to Vegas every year. And I've watched the official convention with creation change and grow and, in a way, metastasize. I mean, I know that has sort of a negative connotation to it, but it has gotten big and big and big. And that takes away a lot of people's ability to really connect with friends. I go now to see my friends and to see people, and I volunteered and worked for creation, and I've seen both sides of it as a paying guest and as a volunteer, and I've just watched it's sort of begun, and it's wonderful. There's so many good things I have to say about creations, conventions being bigger, but at the same time, it's lost a little bit of that ability to really connect with the actors. I remember the very first year, my dad surprised me with the voucher for a photo op with Kate, and that's all I cared about. I was like, Captain Janeway was my hero. That's all I wanted to do. And then I get on the queue, and I stood on that line for I don't even know how long, and I was teaming, and I'm thinking, I'm going to have an opportunity to just say thank you and for inspiring me. And before I knew it, while I was planning what I was going to say, it happened. And that was it. It was bang, and you're done. And it was all 2 seconds of my life. It cost my dad $65. And I kept thinking to myself, when did it really start getting so big to the point where you just didn't even have time with anyone? You didn't really have time to say anything more than just hi, bye, thanks, move along. And I think that's my biggest complaint has been about Vegas, is just it's gotten so big. And although there's many fan run parties, and that's been so wonderful to be able to really expand on being able to get people together to just enjoy each other's company, that's great. But when it comes to the actual convention, what people are paying for when they go, the money, it's just not, I haven't been able to really afford to do any of those packages. The only reason I was able to get the Commanders one for the 50th was because somebody didn't end up coming, and they were coming from Germany, and they canceled the trip. And though
was it Imo?
You know what? No, it's not Imo, but he does look like that guy. I wonder how that works. So it's just been a journey watching it all grow, kind of like Comic-Con, and become a little bit less personal. But in terms of the worst convention I've ever been to, I couldn't say I've ever been to one that I consider the worst, because I haven't been to very many outside of Grand Slam and the Vegas Con.
Sure. But I bet you Homer has one in mind.
I do. I just want to say that was an amazing non-answer. That was great.
It was very in depth as well.
I need to learn from you, because
he's about to mudsling.
I'm going to mudsling a little bit. So I was talking about the Javits before, and how it's unrelenting, and it's big, and it's walking around. I've been to Comic-Con there several years, and Star Trek Mission New York, which was more under control. And this year I vowed that Comic-Con was going to be my last year going there. Like, too many lines, too much walking around, too many people posing for cosplay photo ops, and then all of a sudden, where people are walking is I have to go over here, and then there's this person I got to watch out for the styrofoam wing that's jutting out, or whatever it is. But that is not my worst con, and I hope that folks from this con are not listening. But it wasn't super terrible, and I would go again. It's just relative to the other ones. But I will also say, best con so far was Star Trek Las Vegas this past year. Actually, no, it's this year still.
Yeah.
I went there for the first time and I loved it. And I know, Kat, you were saying that it's gotten so big, but I'm coming from New York Comic Con where they're jamming people into the Javits, and I was like, this is great.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. It's so manageable. Yeah. So that was a big change for me. It's so much better. So don't come to New York Comic Con is what I have to say to you. For me, you go to a con and you were mentioning lighting, and there was this I think it was a ballroom kind of, and you had folks on stage. It was an interview that was being conducted, and Brent Spiner was up there, and Larry Nemeczek was interviewing him, and there was like this bright light behind them. It's like, I'll use the word sconce. So there was this sconce behind them. And it's like, oh, so bright. So eventually they turned it down, but it was kind of like that. It wasn't really set up to do what a comic or what a con should do. It wasn't about that. It was about, okay, here's this space where we can have a bunch of people, like 500 people, and they're going to socialize and they're going to talk about financial statements or whatever it is. So that one was my least favorite. So that's Big Apple Comic Con. This past year, I would go again. Shatner was there. Brent Spiner was there. Wow. Yeah, it was good. And Brent was like pretty much ready to call it a day early from time to time. He was kind of stuck in a corner under fluorescent lights. It was not. Oh, I hope you're not, Brent. I'm sorry. I hope you're not listening. I have nothing but good things to say about you.
I don't think Brent or Dorn or Building.
I don't think he minds.
Or Shatner.
I don't think he minds.
So, all right, good. Yeah, so that's mine. Big Apple Comic Con. It was at the, let's see, where did I get the pen? It was at the hotel. Can I do that? The Hotel Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Cool. Right next door to it. Pennsylvania 65000.
Great song.
Which I think is right near where the original Star Trek convention, or maybe it was where the original Star Trek convention was in 1970. I want to say 4, but I don't know for sure.
If you want to, go for it.
74.
There it is.
Did I say that with conviction?
It was
no wonder you wanted to say.
Where's our fact checker?
Are you old enough for that, Homer? 74?
No, he wasn't at it.
Heather. Come on. Heather. Who's next?
Yeah, Cirroc.
Oh, for me, it was El Paso, Texas.
Were you there as a guest or a?
I was there as a guest.
Great
I was there as a guest, and much like the Javits, it was too big of a facility with a very cold, like hard floors. And there were nobody showed up, so it was like, and it wasn't really the best convention I've been to. It was one of the smallest and least organized.
Blast.
So that I remember that must have been about 10 years ago. El Paso, Texas. I got a chance to see El Paso.
How was that?
It's not much. It's a border town. It's right on the border of Juarez.
Oh,
and
you are not working on your key to the city right now.
No. I mean, I did like a little bit of their history. They have a basketball team, the UTEPs, that were known for playing the first 5 black players, first 5 black starting squad.
And also, very importantly, Mr. Tim Hardaway.
And Tim Hardaway with the UTEP
two-step. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Wow. Does he play for Golden State, or did he play
anymore.
for Golden State? Okay.
He did at one time.
Too, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we do have to run, though. We're just about out of time.
Darn it.
I know. I'm as upset as you are.
Yeah.
But
you're raging.
I'll say my least favorite convention is Star Trek Las Vegas 2020. Because our friends Renee and Aaron will not be there.
Yeah.
Not to be a downer. But thanks all very much for joining us, and always remember the 7th rule.